Now to the latest on the U.S. election. Today, both candidates are holding events in Texas. It's not a swing state. Trump is expected to win it. The Republican nominee spoke at a rally in Austin this afternoon where he mocked Harris for visiting Texas and criticized her over immigration.
She's coming here today. She doesn't want to go to a swing state because she's losing so badly in those states. So she decided to come to Texas, and I'm sure she'll be treated very nicely. Today, she picked the wrong place. I think she picked the wrong place. What do I know about politics? I haven't done it that long, actually. But today, Kamala is here in Texas to rub shoulders with woke celebrities. Isn't that exciting? But she's not going to meet with any of the victims of migrant crime.
Meanwhile, Harris is in Houston. You heard Trump reference celebrities in his remarks. That's because Texas-born music star Beyoncé will appear with Harris tonight. The Democratic nominee's event will focus on reproductive rights. Texas has some of the strictest abortion rules in the country. Harris spoke about that earlier in Houston.
The elected leaders of Texas, a lot of them, have made Texas ground zero in this fundamental fight for the freedom of women to make decisions about their own body. So tonight we will be discussing the impact of that, not only to the women of Texas and their families, but to people around the country because of Trump abortion bans. And I do believe it is critically important to acknowledge that this is not just a political debate. This is not just some theoretical concept. Real harm has occurred in our country. A real suffering has occurred. People have died.
Tony Waterman is a journalist in Austin. She has more on the message each candidate is bringing to Texas today.
Texas, being a border state, of course, has been on the front lines of the immigration crisis here in the United States. Tens of thousands of migrants, millions of migrants have been flowing into the country. We had these record high migration numbers last December. So this is really the issue that he is trying to drive home right now. And this is an issue that is resonating with a target audience that he is very much trying to get to the polls, and that is young male voters. While he is here in Austin, he's doing an interview with Joe Rogan, who hosts one of the most popular podcasts in the United States. 52 million subscribers to that podcast, a lot of them young, right-leaning men. They tend to be low propensity voters, but he's trying to get the message out there that they get out to vote. And one of their core issues is really on immigration. Donald Trump has tried to tie migrants coming across the border to what he calls a spike in violence here in the U.S. Of course, the data and the research does not back that up. Extensive research, in fact, shows that illegal and legal migrants commit fewer crimes, violent crimes, than native-born Americans. But this is the message that he is getting across. And of course, he is not going to lose Texas. This is a solid Republican state. But this is about getting the message out to not just people here, but also across the United States as we're into these last 11 days of the campaign. Kamala Harris's visit to Texas today, just 11 days before the election in a non-swing state, is really about two things. It is about the conversation around abortion. What she's really trying to do is paint a picture for the rest of the United States of what abortion access could look like under a Donald Trump presidency. As you mentioned, Texas has one of the strictest abortion bans in the country. There are no exceptions for rape or incest. The only exception is to save the life of the mother, but it is so ill-defined, the criteria, that doctors are not performing abortions. And we have seen numerous cases of women being turned away at hospitals, being turned away from emergency rooms, from their doctor's offices when they are miscarrying, because doctors are scared to perform an abortion, even if the woman needs it. And the reason why they're scared is because doctors who are convicted of performing an illegal abortion face up to 99 years in prison. That has had an absolute chilling effect here in Texas. The state used to perform about 4,400 abortions every single month. It is now down to an average of 7 abortions. So abortion here is almost inaccessible. And what she's trying to do is say, listen, if Donald Trump is reelected president, we are going to have 50 Texases when it comes to access to abortion care. The other part of her message while she is here is really stumping for Colin Allred. You heard her talk about that in this press gaggle that just took place. Colin Allred is a Democratic congressman who is in this very tight race to unseat Republican Senator Ted Cruz. For the Democrats right now, Texas is really the only viable option when it comes to flipping a Senate seat from Republican to Democrat. And this will be incredibly important if she is going to be able to push forward with her agenda, particularly around abortion access. If she wants to codify the protections of Roe, which would allow abortions up to viability, usually around 24 weeks into a woman's pregnancy, she's going to need Congress to do that. And that is why she is here, to get this message out to the rest of the country that if they vote for Donald Trump, they could look like Texas in terms of access to abortion, and also to encourage people to vote for Colin Allred in this Senate race. It has to be noted that Donald Trump has said that if he is reelected, that he would not push for a nationwide abortion ban, although he has bragged quite extensively about putting those conservative justices into the Supreme Court, which ultimately overturned the access to abortion at a federal level just over 2 years ago.
That is journalist Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas. For a closer look at the race and the stakes in a place where everything is bigger, I want to welcome Julie Fine to the program. She is the Texas bureau chief for Bloomberg News, and appreciate you, Julie, for taking the time to talk to us very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
So this is kind of interesting, right, that you've got both presidential candidates in your state, in Texas. What are the polls suggesting in a state that has been reliably red, reliably Republican for a while now?
I mean, they are suggesting reliably red, certainly for the presidential race right now. Former President Trump is up by more than 6 points. Listen, the reason why Vice President Harris is here today is to talk about abortion. You can't just say I'm not Trump. So this is a good message for her in a state where abortion has become a major issue. Like you said, Texas was the first with the very strict abortion laws. So she will be here to bring attention to that. And yes, she has Texas royalty with her today. Beyoncé is here with her. Willie Nelson is here with her. So she is really trying to get attention on her message and bring it to that. She's here in Texas, but it's a national message. This is a backdrop for her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about what the top issues are for voters in Texas, because we know that that is what she will be talking about. We also know Donald Trump is there talking about immigration. So what are the priorities of people in Texas?
Well, I mean, immigration is always a large issue here, as is the economy and as are women's reproductive rights. So again, it depends on what side of the aisle on what your top issue is. And if you are a one issue voter, but those are certainly the big topics you will see in all of the ads that are on television right now in the Senate race.
And let's talk about the Senate race, because, people in this country are familiar with Ted Cruz, who's born in Calgary, and also Colin Allred, who is, giving Ted Cruz maybe a run for his money, right?
Well, Colin Allred is a congressman from Dallas. He was elected in 2018. He knocked off a pretty popular Republican in that race. Right now, you can say that this race is a statistical dead heat. Cruz is up roughly about 3 points in an average of polls. What's interesting about this race is Colin Allred has raised $80 million. He has outraised Ted Cruz. However, back in 2018, I don't know if you remember Beto O'Rourke, he outraised Ted Cruz as well, came within 3 points of him. However, this is a presidential year, so how that plays into it remains to be seen. But certainly that is the biggest race in Texas right now.
And let's talk a little bit about abortion. And, we know that Ted Cruz, there was a debate with Colin Allred, right? And Ted Cruz was asked about his position on, as you described it, the abortion ban, practically an abortion ban in Texas. And we didn't really get a straight answer from Ted Cruz on how he feels about that in that debate. Have we heard his position on it outside of the debate?
Well, I mean, Ted Cruz has basically, discussed that this is a state's issue. This is the voters that have wanted this here in Texas, voting for the lawmakers that put this into effect. Again, it is a 6-week ban in most cases, no exceptions for rape or incest. There are exceptions in the case of the health of the mother. So in that debate, that was a part where Colin Allred really went strong on that. That was his issue. Again, Ted Cruz champion debater. I mean, that is not a man scared of a debate stage.
So why would polls suggest a much wider margin for Donald Trump in the presidential race while that Senate race is so close, do you think?
Well, I mean, we saw it also in 2018. I mean, while Ted Cruz is very popular with his base, there are many people here that simply don't like him and don't feel he's been an effective senator. Donald Trump, different issue here. You know, he's always been very popular in Texas. He's here frequently. It is a cash register for him as well. But yeah, the Senate race is much closer.
Julie, it was really great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Julie Fine of Bloomberg News in Dallas.